Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, episode number 15 today for the Italian Grand Prix in Season 1. If you guys did miss the previous one at the Belgium Grand Prix, then be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. A very exciting race, probably one of the most exciting races we've actually had in terms of wheel-to-wheel battles there, went right down to the wire, but here we are then ahead of Italy. Not too much time in breathing room between the Belgium Grand Prix and Italy. Obviously in real life, in the real life calendar, when it's not a weird year like this, Belgium and Italy come pretty quick, connected to one another in the same week. So we've only got like 2-3 days in the activities, and straight off the bat at the start of this episode, we're looking at a brand new sponsor, PAYOUTS. That contract has ended, and we're going for something different because PAYOUTS, the goal was finish in the top 12, and it was a decent amount of money, but I think there's going to be other sponsors around here that we could try and go for that will maybe give us a better payout for maybe doing something a little bit easier. And I was tempted by, DSP Optics. We've gone with them before. Having a look around, we found this sponsor, Lugner, and they've got the exact same goal as Sudo, and it's a little bit less in terms of the weekly income, but the bonus is pretty high. It's obviously not as good as Sudo. This is almost like a second tier version of that sponsor in a way, but it's actually still going to give us more money than DSP Optics and PAYOUTS would for a much easier goal that we're already doing. So we're basically killing two birds with one stone by getting a fastest lap in FP1, strapping on the soft tyres when everyone else is on mediums and hards, getting that fastest lap in the session at the very start of the race weekend, and we get a very decent payout, much more than we would with PAYOUTS, DSP Optics, and a few times we even didn't get that payout, remember, from both those sponsors because we didn't either get into the top 12 or in the points as it was with DSP Optics. So it's a much cheaper, it's a much easier goal to get, and we get a little bit more money as well at the same time. So it's a no-brainer there. So a really decent signing. So we're going to slap that logo on the car. It's actually a very weird, unique logo because it's got like Lugner, but then like some, I don't know how to, it's just got a very weird half and half like version of the logo base, like inverted, if you know what I mean, like black on white and then white on black. So I guess, if you had different colors in the right kind of places where the sponsors are, it would kind of make it like a cool little pattern. But because I'm basically putting the logos on like just the same colored background, it just looks a little bit odd and strange, but we'll move on. It just looks like some weird sort of graphic really on the side of Lugner. So we got that sponsor. Obviously all the other ones are still going on for our contracts, although I think the two that we've got right now, I think they run out pretty soon in the next episode or so. So next episode we might have to sign 2 new sponsors in quick succession to get that sorted before the Singapore Grand Prix. But this is obviously how the car now looks. So the kind of old sponsors we've kind of, transitioned away. I thought we'd kind of, to be honest, I thought we would have DSP Optics and PAYOUTS there for a while, to us, because there were really good goals. But having found these two perfect for us, because it just means less work. We get it done in one lap, basically. One lap in FP1, and we've already got that money. So, yeah, can't complain. So we move through then towards the Italian Grand Prix. Like I said, not too much time between the two races. So we've only got 2 days there, so just, chose a sponsor event as we would. We've got a lot of upgrades pending, but none of them, unfortunately, are coming in for the Italian Grand Prix. That major chassis update, a major aero and minor aero, and then the minor engine power. So all those are coming in for at least, well, hopefully, I really hope, next episode, the Singapore Grand Prix, and then after, I think it's Russia in the calendar here. So, unfortunately, no updates at Italy, but to be fair, I think our car could go pretty well around here. Last episode, I compromised a lot on the aero and the straight line speed in terms of I had the wings a little bit higher around Belgium to help us in Sector 2. But Italy, there's no point compromising. It's all about low speed, really, on the game. And you just kind of deal with it in the corners. So we'll be dropping the wings. Hopefully our car goes well. But before we get into that, we've got some money to spend. And we talked about generating resource points. And, we've not been generating enough, maybe. I've started doing the practice programs off camera. But just in general, we're not generating enough. So we're going to go ahead and upgrade the reliability or the durability HQ facility, and that is going to be the cheapest out of the 4 to upgrade in terms of resource point generation. Can't take credit for this. I think someone commented this below last episode, so whoever you are, big shout out to you in terms of, you kind of like pointed that out for me, and it kind of seemed like a no-brainer actually to do that, because at this stage, I honestly didn't really know which HQ facility to upgrade, because we're at a point where we're just waiting for R&D updates to come through onto the car. We've still got plenty of upgrades to do and buy in the tree, we don't really need to push forward with HQ upgrades in terms of, you know, getting further into the R&D tree, just for the sake of efficiency. But if we're doing that, we may as well make efficiency upgrades and do them cheaply. So that R&D update, that generation one, was a decent idea. So whoever pointed that out last episode, good on you. So we've made that upgrade. That actually comes in before the Italian Grand Prix. So that'll be quite nice to hopefully get that as we go on through the next calendar week in-game. But before we go into the race weekend, we get an email from Carl saying that there's going to be a driver retirement. Kimi Raikkonen has announced he's going to be retiring then this season. Not surprising in terms of, I almost think this may happen in real life as well. But Raikkonen freeing up a position at Alfa Romeo may move things around in terms of the driver market. Could that mean at the end of the season, going into season 2, could we potentially pick up an actual F1 driver for our teammate, because they might be a free agent after being kicked out of their respective team? You know, if they're, you know, they get replaced, or you know, someone goes to Alpha and then therefore there's a free seat there that opens up, an F2 driver goes in and someone else loses their seat. So it's going to be interesting to see, you know, if there's going to be an F1 driver freed up, or if, you know, maybe just an F2 driver will go and replace Kimi at Alfa Romeo. I kind of hope it kind of creates a bit of a domino effect. I would like to see maybe the ability to pick up a cheap F1 driver for next year, but obviously none of us have played my team into, you know, seasons 3 and 4, so I'm not too sure, you know, what the cash flow will be like, and, you know, if that will be maybe too early for us at this stage of our career to sign an F1 driver. To be fair, at the moment I've signed Aitken for one reason only, is because he was cheaper obviously and had an okay amount of stats. At this stage we're still very much trying to save money, cut costs where we can, and the teammate is also a great place to cut costs as it stands. You know, right now, you know, I'm not really too bothered if Aitken's not scoring points, but maybe going to season 2, that's when we will be bothered, and we might have to, you know, look to buy or sign someone better. So we'll see how that goes in terms of domino effect. Kind of annoyed that that seems to be like a staple thing. I've seen that in other people's careers of Raikkonen retiring. Let me know if it's been the same way for you guys. I would like to hope that there's maybe some randomizability to that in terms of, you know, who gets retired at season 1, or if anyone gets retired, and those driver transfers. So hopefully that's not just the case. It's just a bit of a coincidence here. But we go into qualifying then. Q1 for the Italian Grand Prix. Thankfully, it's looking like it's going to be all dry, which is music to my ears. Because like I said, we want to drop the aero to get the best max top end speed we can for these straights, because come race day, it's going to be all about slipstream, using ERS properly, and getting the moves done on the straights with DRS and all of that good stuff. And in qualifying, it's all about the top end speed. So if it was going to rain, that would have been a real tough call to make in terms of compromising for aero and the straight line. And plus, it's Italy. You're going such high speeds that in the wet, it would be a nightmare to get the car slowed down, especially our car, I think. But it's going to be all dry, all sunny on Saturday, and then I think maybe a little bit overcast, but staying dry on Sunday, thankfully. So we're in Q1, like I said. We set our first flying lap there. P15, not too bad. I was happy about that. The balance of the car was pretty good. To say I'm running 3.3 wings, I was very scared about running 3.3 wings, because this car generally, I've always had to run at least minimum 5.5 to 6.6, and then places like Monaco 11.11 to actually feel decent in the corner. So I was worried about dropping the wings this low, but because of all the upgrades we made as of late, you know, we've made, you know, now 4 air upgrades in total, or 5, and we've got 1 more pending, and then a drag reduction update coming later on. We made a lot of, you know, gains on the aero side of things to our car. So all in all, actually felt okay. And we go across the line, and we go up into a whopping P4 position there. Obviously, it's Q1, so other teams have not really turned up yet, not turned up the wick. You know, it's not really the full performance of most of the field. But for us to be up there in P4 gives me some hope, maybe. But like I said, it's Q1. Like in real life, everything changes into Q2. Track evolution, cars going a little bit quicker. You know, maybe some drivers make mistakes, maybe I make a mistake. So let's see how this goes. So this first flying lap is on a worn set of soft tyres, because I only had 3 sets of softs. Remember, I used 2 sets to get through to Q2. So I only have 1 fresh set left. So I used the worn set in that first run, and you can really tell how much of a difference it makes. Look at that. I've gained nearly 5/10 off the first corner alone in terms of traction off that corner. Losing a little bit at the tail end of that, so 4/10, but then gaining some more, and we're going to be nearly a second up on that first run. To be fair, that first run was pretty horrendous. We're down in P16 for good measure, but the power of the traction there, that was the best illustration of it off that turn 1. 4/10 alone in just 1 acceleration was crazy for me. But here we are, through the last corner, Parabolica, 1.1 gain there on the time. Across the line, what's it going to be? It is P14. that is okay. I can't lie, I was kind of hoping for maybe a P12, P11, you know, but P14, considering how close it is, like literally one more tenth and I would have been into Q3. Ocon in P10 to myself. In between, you got Gasly, Kvyat, Sainz. Even the McLarens were really so. Like, it kind of backs up my point. McLaren, in our career at least, have been actually very poor, and they've definitely become a staple midfield team rather than trying to chase after the top three like Racing Point have in our career so far. So a nice mix there, but we're actually very close. So that's actually quite promising. Like Belgium, you know, one more tenth. Maybe I made you know, a little error somewhere. Didn't gain 1/10 I could have. We could have been in Q3 here. So I think we've actually got a good chance for some good points and just continuing on that nice streak and consistency of getting in the top 10 at the end of the race. So let's go to the grid and see how we do from P14. Surprise, surprise, just had to be alongside Pierre Gasly on the same row.
We're back in Italy once again for another round of the Formula One World Championship. And what a great race is in store for us today here at the oldest circuit on the calendar. Monza hosted its first race all the way back in 1922. We're 12 miles northeast of Milan for today's Grand Prix at a Monza circuit where we can expect top speeds of around 215 miles per hour. 11 corners on this 3.6 mile track, with 7 of those coming in the form of chicanes. And with a good slipstream and DRS open, there should be plenty of opportunity for some passing here today. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
Well, the throttle goes both ways, Crofty. You've got to have the discipline not to try and win the race on the first lap. So always be prepared to lift early and give those around you more space. Trying to be the last of the late breakers with half a dozen cars around you may pay off from time to time, but it's also a great way to lose your front wing.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Good job yesterday from Valtteri Bottas. The Finn starts from pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Vettel, Max Verstappen, and Perez, Stroll, Albon, Ricciardo, and Esteban Ocon, Kvyat, Sainz, Pierre Gasly, and the owner driver, Norris, Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen, and Kevin Magnussen, Aitken, Grosjean, Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. Now, it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track.
So like I said, a bit overcast here at the Italian Grand Prix on Sunday, but it is going to be all dry for today's race, so it will be a one-stop, no surprise here, but it's all about that slipstream, you know. It's one of the few races where I don't mind it being a one-stop because there's always going to be action around this circuit. There's so much slipstreaming on the game compared to even real life. I know in real life there's the same sort of thing, but in the game it's multiplied, and so it's always so exciting. In terms of the starting tyre, I was maybe thinking about starting on mediums, but then I looked at the race director and everyone is starting soft, so it'd be kind of foolish to start on mediums because I would get swamped being on the slower tyre. So we all do that same strategy, soft to medium, as everyone else is doing. So everyone's on the same strategy, no one's trying anything different, so it's literally going to be flat out racing, you know, wheel to wheel for every position. There's no strategic decisions here today at the start of the race, so ready to get into it, and hopefully it's going to be some more points today for the team, because here we go then to 5 red lights for the Italian Grand Prix here at Monza. Round number 15 of the season is underway as the lights are out, and it's initially a good getaway for us. Second phase though, not as quick as I wanted. I thought I could try and go and jump Sainz on the right there. He blocks us off a little bit, but still looking to make the inside line. What we do, it's 3 wide between myself, Sainz, and Gasly on the inside. Very close stuff there, very argy-bargy indeed for not only me, but the cars ahead of us there. Ocon versus Alexander Albon. Bit of a collision warning made with Sainz and Gasly. We cut across Sainz, trying to keep the position in P12. We made a very decent getaway there, considering how tight it was into turn 1. Still got to do the job here on Sainz down the inside to re-overtake and maintain the P12 position. And now ahead of us, we look at Esteban Ocon using plenty of ERS off the Parabolica. Of course, remember Ocon, he is our rival right now in this season for the extra team acclaim or driver acclaim, and this is the final race that we're going head to head, so we need to beat him. We're drawing level on the rivalry, and we're now able to just roll the car through around the outside. Albon helping us out a treat there as he blocked off Ocon at the apex, and so we're able to make a pretty damn easy pass on the Frenchman up into P11. Meanwhile, you saw there was a message of Aitken. He's in the pit lane, so he's had a bit of an issue on this opening stage of this GP, so definitely flying the flag solo for the team this race. As now Albon and Ricciardo go side by side. We nip it down the inside of Albon. What a great move there for us against the Thai Brit in the Red Bull car. Albon's been minced, and now we've got Daniel Ricciardo. Great run. Bit of ERS out the exit of Ascari, and we've got the job done with Rich Mix into Parabolica. Got to get it finished in the second phase of the corner, but we're up into P9. What a lap there for us at the end there. Lap number 2 onto 3. Albon and Ricciardo, they were side by side into Ascari. That definitely slowed them both down, and so much so with Albon that I was able to nip through to the inside of such a high-speed left-hander with a bump on the inside curve, and so into P9. But for how much longer? Lap number 5, Sainz, I can't lie, that McLaren is actually looking very quick in a straight line there, so I'm kind of baffled why the McLarens, both him and Norris, were so slow in qualifying, because right there you saw he just breezed past us in a straight line. I know I wasn't using too much ERS, but still was quite a quick closing speed as we now move later into that lap number 5, and there's a retirement up ahead. I think Sergio Perez going slow, so once again a Racing Point car retires from this Grand Prix. Lance Stroll retired last episode around Belgium, late onto the Grand Prix, this time very early on into this Italian GP, and now on lap 6, look at this, Sainz v Kvyat. Lovely little battling there we're seeing from the AI, and they look so aggressive when they do it on this year's game, as Sainz really waited the last minute to jump out to the inside of the Russian, and now we've got a great double run. Could we make a double overtake as we go on the left-hand side? It's so close to the grass. Kvyat squeezes us all the way to the left there. We try and get the elbows out to force the move through. We don't let up, keep our foot in there, and through the left-hander, we get the job done up into P5, and kind of almost using Sainz in a way as a horse and carriage like we did with Giovinazzi at this Austrian Grand Prix. Because Kvyat did have a decent gap ahead of us, and I don't think we would have caught him as quickly as we did without Sainz's kind of aid there. But speaking about Sainz, we're now looking to close him back in using ERS at the start of the straight. Now just DRS and Rich Mix. He's going a little bit defensive, but we're going to try and go to the inside, and we keep it in, and we have a Tadipper right-hand side tyre on the grass. That was rather hairy there. That could have easily gone so wrong. I had DRS open and tapped my tyre on the grass, so, you know, nearly over 220 miles per hour. That could have been very nasty indeed. You know, it's so easy to spin out on the grass now on this year's game, especially, so they kind of keep on improving how sensitive these areas are of the circuit. So that was a very hairy moment, and we continue to fight on with Sainz because he gets us back in Sector 3 now through Parabolica. So even though we got the job done, he comes back at us, and like I said, this is why I say the McLaren looks a lot feistier in the race than I thought it would do. I thought we could have overtaken Sainz at the very beginning of the Grand Prix, and then that would have been it. That would have been us booked in and ahead of him, but he keeps on coming back at us. He's got good straight line speed, and so we have to continue to fight. We go a little bit right and then go to the left-hand side, just keep him guessing in the mirrors, and now we go toe-to-toe into turn 1 and 2, very tight on the entry point there, as Sainz tries to squeeze us into the curb, tightens up our line, but we continue to fight on, using some more ERS, probably a little bit too much than I want to at this stage of the race, but I really fancy getting ahead of Sainz and finishing this off. So round the outside we go, a little bit too deep though into the brakes, and allows Sainz to come back, and so we graze sidewall tyres there on the exit. It's so close with this fight. It's a real great scrap with Sainz, but into the Lesmo 1, lock up on the front right, get him, but then Kvyat comes out of nowhere. What a fight this is. We had some great wheel-to-wheel stuff and some action last race at the Belgium Grand Prix. It's all kicking off again here at Monza. I don't even know how Kvyat had the space to not only overtake Sainz, but overtake me, as we now go back down his inside into Ascari. We're side by side. He's going to have to give up at some point. Surely we get him squeezed out, but Kvyat really not wanting to give up any sort of position there. He kept his foot in that entire time through Ascari as well. Now he goes toe-to-toe with Carlos Sainz behind us. But yeah, great to see the AI so punchy once again. Some really fun fighting, but I'm hoping that can maybe be the end of it for us in terms of battling these two, but it doesn't look like it, because they're going to come at us. The pit stop window opens, and so we're going to maybe think about coming in this lap, but right now Sainz still attacking us. We move to the inside to defend our position into turn 1, but he's so late on the braking. We're not as confident with our car under brakes. Side by side through the first 2 corners there. Get a good enough exit though. We're in standard mixture though at this stage, not wanting to burn too much fuel because we don't actually have that much left to play with. So I need to make sure I have enough, to play around with rich mix, especially at the end of this race. And so by the end of that lap 11, we do come in and follow our pit window. Sainz in with us, as well as Kvyat, and also I think Ocon as well in the Renault. So, we've maybe got a massive fight on our hands for the entirety of this Grand Prix here. It looks like these guys aren't giving up. We're not going to shake them off. So we might have a four-way, five-way fight. I don't even know how many cars are right behind us, because we may be forming a bit of a train here, because there's definitely no one very directly near ahead of us, so the fighting really might be all the guys behind us taking the fight to us, basically, for the position we find ourselves in. We've got the likes of Albon, remember, that are behind us in the Red Bull, so you would say at some point maybe he's going to wake up and go a little bit quicker, because I would imagine, even though the Red Bull is a little bit slower in a straight line compared to us, we've got the better Honda engine in terms of raw engine power on the R&D chart, but you would say at some stage he probably will use his aero and chassis to good effect to catch back up to us. But right now it is just a fight with this man, this Spaniard in the McLaren, Carlos Sainz. We've had so many battles with him on the F1 game as of late, especially in the last year or so, especially in F1 My Driver Season 9. But this is a different kettle of fish, different game, different kind of scenario here. This is a midfield fight for some last points paying positions maybe as we come down the main pit straight, looking to overtake Sainz. But look at that ahead of us. Lando Norris, the other McLaren, has managed to jump both of us as we go around the outside of Sainz. He locks up and we're able to slip through in between the two McLarens. So we're in a McLaren sandwich now. But how on earth has Lando Norris done that? He's done an unbelievable overcut strategy, that is. So it must have just been the clean air. That's how much time me, Sainz and Kvyat as well must have lost to each other, having been battling one another, because Norris was nowhere near us, I feel. At least not to my knowledge. I don't think he was very near to us in that battle, so he's jumped us. So bit of a shame there, and he actually pulls away and actually shows the McLaren actually has a lot of pace, and maybe on these medium tyres even more pace than we have in the car. As Sainz flies past us on the left hand side in straight line there, turning up the wick and opening DRS of course as well towards Ascari. So fair and square overtake there, but trying to stay within at least 1 second to just get him back here, using a bit of ERS to just maintain that gap we've got, but taking it easy into Parabolica, knowing that we're just patient through this corner, make sure we get a good enough exit, lean mixture even, to save the engine power and save the engine temperatures behind him, and then we'll go up into Rich, use some overtake mode, DRS, and get past him. But is this just going to be this basically for the end of the entire race? Is this just going to be a yo-yo effect of me and Sainz back and forth, because here we go for another time. He goes defensive to the inside, so we have to go the long way around. It's going to be the inside though for the next turn, but again, so close to his side pod there every time. We're just getting pinched in, and he doesn't give us too much room, but the corner itself is just so awkward in terms of that when you try and go side by side. And so we have to go again and try and just stay within 1 second of this man to re-overtake him. Here we are, lap 17, 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Just not close enough though this time round. Losing a bit of time now on the straight as well. You can see on the bottom right, we're literally on the teetering edge of fuel, and also ERS, we're constantly using it and we're kind of draining it more and more. So eventually we will have quite little to play with, but we go through the right-hand curve, looking to gain enough time there. Used a decent amount of ERS. We swap it to the left-hand side, confuse the hell out of Sainz, lock up on the front left, just about slow down the car, and we get the job done up into P8 once again. But once again, Sainz comes through. This is actually almost getting annoying in a way now that we're just going back and forth. I'd like to just finish off the move, but he's just so quick for us in the corners. He's much better in the corner. Every single time we enter Sector 2, he's just there. And now it's getting a little bit frosty as we look to squeeze him to the right, and he had none of it and pushed us back to the left. We go down the right-hand side to the inside for turn 1 for about the 5 billionth time in this Grand Prix, but we've got it too crossed up, just like the Belgium Grand Prix. We've made a mistake under braking there, and Sainz now has a really good run, and he's almost nearly 8 tenths ahead of us. By the time we get to the end of lap 21, he's fully away, 2.2 seconds the gap now. So that was it. Big blunder there for us. We need to sort that. We've done that twice now in 2 Grand Prix. Big mistake on the braking, just being way too eager with our car and what it can do in terms of the stopping power of it. And now, with 5 laps to go in this Grand Prix, we've got Alexander Albon, the Red Bull for company. I said, obviously, at some point, I would have imagined he would have come through to attack us. And so here he is, attacking us into Ascari. We go very defensive to the inside there, maintain the position, and more importantly, away from Albon, look who's behind him. That's the Renault of Esteban Ocon. So this is crucial. I don't, I care about trying to maybe fight the position against Albon, but more than anything, I don't want to lose the position to Ocon, because not only will that be points lost, but also he's our rival, of course, and it's the last race, like I said earlier, so we need to beat him. But at the moment, side by side with the Red Bull car, and Ocon in the background coming through as well, and it's going to be 3 wide. Renault v Red Bull v aarava Archer Racing car. That's a mouthful and a half. We break early and back out of that. As you can see, Ocon locks up, and Albon nearly completely whacks him on the side pod there. Can you imagine if my car was in the middle? That would have been a horrendous crash. So good thinking from me in terms of wanting to keep the battle going and keep our car intact in terms of no damages. And we can go again now through this right-hander. Look at the speed we're gaining here on Ocon. He goes for the move on Albon, but stays put, and we go sailing round the outside, slow the thing down, big lock up, but we get the job done. Up into P9. Fantastic move on the right there. Very hairy, because Ocon nearly completely closed me off, essentially, pushed me to the grass as he was looking to do the same thing to Albon, basically. And we go again, and it's 3 wide for the second time now. This time into Parabolica, and it's so fine ahead of us. Look at how close Ocon's left front is to Albon's rear right. We get a massive tank slapper there and have to go opposite lock to keep the car going in a straight line. So really pushing the limit of this car. Everyone's pushing so hard for these last points-paying positions, and so we're through to the inside. It's 3 wide for the 3rd time now in this race, and this time we do commit to going 3 wide into turns 1 and 2, and it's all rather close, and I think Albon has just been squeezed out completely there, as it's now me and Ocon side by side, and we bang tyres. We push him a little bit left here. Our rival getting a little bit tense and frosty here as the pot maybe boils over a little bit as we look to squeeze Ocon, but he's having none of it. He keeps his nose in. He hits us on the left-hand side. Albon's on the inside there, so I have to try and leave him some room. So it's all kicking off. I'm trying to maintain the peace on circuit and trying not to make too much contact with everyone, but it's so hard. We're pretty much playing ping-pong with each other as we now look to overtake Ocon now, fair and square, on lap 25, round the outside. Decent square of the throttle, but Ocon comes back at us. Second phase of those first 2 turns and overtakes us. So Ocon really not wanting to give up this fight either. Maybe he knows it's our last rivalry race, but I doubt it actually. But we're on the right-hand side looking to overtake him once again, and we're up into P9 for about the 5th time in 2 laps here. How long can we go for like this? So how long is this going to last, to be honest? Because we've got about 2 laps to go in this Grand Prix, and as you can see, there is a massive train that has formed behind me. That is actually quite comical in a way. That's how much I've been wanting to not give up this position, and perhaps also maybe how much we dragged the car up the order once again, the fact we've got this massive train. But to be fair, since before we were fighting these guys, we were actually quite ahead of all these guys with the McLaren. So I think it's just a case of, obviously, at Monza, if you do go side by side, you're just going to lose so much time. But it's now so late into the race that there's no point not fighting for these positions. We may as well fight hammer and tong. But at the moment now, Ocon is keeping it. He keeps nipping at our heels, essentially. He's still there now, and we're now neck and neck, literally sidewall to sidewall of the tyres. We squeeze him right to the right-hand side, trying to maybe put him off. But look at Giovinazzi come, the Italian, at his home Grand Prix. He's sailed through. He's caught us both unawares, and he's actually taken the racing line as well. So he's just done us as we go and defend against Ocon, breeze past on the right and try and go wide and cut across him. And so although we've maintained the position against Ocon, but we've now lost P9. So we're now only fighting for P10. 1 championship point in this race on towards the last lap of the Grand Prix. Ricciardo, Ocon and Raikkonen now looking to go 3 wide there. We take the racing line, lock up at the front right though as the tyre wear kicks in even more at this late stage of the race. But those guys are having a massive squabble. Looks like Raikkonen and Ricciardo have both overtaken Ocon, so that's good news for me. And so we're going to essentially limp home in a way on the last lap. Valtteri Bottas wins the Italian Grand Prix, but my word, what a action-packed Italian Grand Prix. There's so much action, I almost got fed up of it in terms of how much we're just going back and forth with Sainz, Ocon, Albon, everyone. But it's so hard to get a move done and finish it off at this race, but we come across the line nonetheless in P10. Happy to beat Ocon in the rivalry. 1 point. Could we have gotten more? Maybe if we played it a little more cleverly, Giovinazzi gets the drive of the day, fair enough, but it was very, very tough to keep anyone behind, to be honest, that entire race.
Yet another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. Anthony, tell me, what was it that helped them achieve this success?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today.
So Bottas wins it from the two Ferrari cars. Did a pretty decent job at their home Grand Prix. I don't know where Hamilton actually went. I don't know what went on in that race. Of course, we saw Sergio Perez retire, but that was the only incident I can really recall as Hamilton finished up in P4. But for us, one championship point doesn't mean a lot in terms of the Drivers' Championship for us. I mean, we haven't been really focusing on that too much. And constructors-wise, things are even closer here now. We've got literally 1 point separating Renault, AlphaTauri and ourselves because we are level on points with AlphaTauri. So this championship constructors midfield fight just keeps on getting juicier and juicier. But yeah, what a wild ride at Italy. Obviously, we though did beat Ocon in the rivalry, so that is very good news. You can see here at the end screen, we don't even get like an update because we beat him fair and square. We get that extra acclaim, and we went on to choose a different rival. I chose Ricciardo because I got a choice of Ricciardo. I got a choice of the two Renaults or the two McLaren cars essentially, and I thought McLaren looked quite quick this race, so let's go for Ricciardo, the other Renault, because Ricciardo's actually looked a bit slower than Ocon in recent races. We get a bonus payout of $1.12 million. Massive payday for us today, and that means we go over a total of $4.18 million to spend, so we can definitely get a good chunky update on one of the departments on our HQ, so we'll look into that next episode. But guys, if you did enjoy this one, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I've been aarava. Hope you guys enjoy us today. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.